The world is going to be introduced to a brand new roller coaster called Falcon's Flight, which is going to be the world's first exocoaster from Intamin, meaning a roller coaster that can travel over 600 foot tall, meaning by default, upon opening, it will be the world's tallest, fastest and longest roller coaster, opening as part of a brand new massive theme park called Six Flags Qiddiya, located near Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And this ride is going to take all records, and you'll be able to experience the tallest heights, the fastest speeds and the longest lengths on any roller coaster in one ride. It almost seems too good to be true, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, sure, obviously the ride has gotten a lot more announcements from Intamin at the Apple Expo, and it's been under vertical construction the past few months. It is pretty likely it's going to open, but what about when it actually does open? How are the park going to handle the ride when it does actually start operating with guests on the board of trains for the very first time? Will they be able to operate it successfully? I mean, this is the world's largest coaster we're talking about, so obviously the main problem for this ride when it opens is going to be maintenance. The amount of maintenance work that is going to be required to keep Falcon's Flight running and operational is going to be kind of a nightmare, really, and obviously it's not going to be cheap either. So that's why I'm thinking, could Falcon's Flight, when it opens, we don't know when it's going to open yet, but when it does open, could Falcon's Flight be for Intamin what X2 was for aerodynamics? Now, if you don't know what I mean, basically X2 is a roller coaster currently operating at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and it was the last ever roller coaster Aerodynamics, the American roller coaster manufacturer, had ever built. And the main reasons for this being is mainly due to financial reasons, for obvious reasons. Literally, this ride was not cheap to build at all. I think it was roughly around $45 million that actually cost them to build it. Obviously, a lot of money went into the research and development side of it because it was the world's first fourth dimension coaster. Obviously, a lot of R&D went into it. The amount of money it took to physically build the track and the brand new trains that had never been done before was very expensive, like I said, millions of dollars. Plus, when the ride opened, it was honestly such a maintenance nightmare. It cost so much money to actually keep the ride operating. It had a lot of downtime. Obviously, and not to mention the trains were very heavy as well. There were 25-ton trains originally. They're not now, but when they were open, they were so heavy, it was causing a lot more stress on track, which required a lot more maintenance on the ride's track. And all this just plunged aerodynamics into financial issues and immediately after bankruptcy. So obviously X2 and Falcon's Flight are two completely different rides. They're not even comparable, two completely different types of rides. Obviously X2 was the world's first fourth dimension coaster, and even though that originally opened back in 2002, that's a completely different time to now. Obviously the technology has obviously improved since then, but even still, and obviously Aerodynamics and Intamin are two completely different companies. But even still, how will Falcon's Flight affect Intamin? Will Intamin end up like Aerodynamics when they build Falcon's Flight? Because obviously, with it being the world's tallest, fastest and longest roller coaster, therefore it's going to be the largest roller coaster on the planet potentially. Building it obviously is not going to be cheap. Many people have even going to speculate it's going to be the world's most expensive roller coaster to actually build. Obviously, it doesn't look like that in terms of theme, but actual track and trains and just so much track. There's 2.5 miles worth of track on this thing. So obviously, we know that the current world's most expensive roller coaster is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, and that cost Disney around $500 million to build. That's $500 million, and that's a lot of money. Now, obviously, we know that Saudi Arabia is a very wealthy country, but even still, how expensive? We haven't been told how expensive Falcon's Flight is actually going to cost. But with it being obviously a brand new ride type, being the world's first exocoaster, even that, I don't even think a lot of brand new technology is going into it, because it's literally just like a sit-down coaster, multi-launch coaster. The only thing that's really doing new is going over 600 foot tall. But obviously, like I said, it's going to be, I think, over 700 LSM fins, metal fins, obviously on the launch tracks. There's 3 launches on this thing, including one that goes down the 600 foot drop off the cliff edge. Obviously LSM launches are more efficient than their predecessor of hydraulic launchers, but obviously the fact that these launchers are literally going to be some of the fastest in the world, especially that last one, is going to boost it to its maximum speed of 156 miles an hour. It's going to be very, very expensive. So obviously not to mention the country it's in, Saudi Arabia, there's such extreme weather conditions, especially in the summer. It gets so hot over there. Not to mention there's a lot of sand, which could obviously affect the ride's performance. They could get like sand between like the track or something like that, and between the wheels of the trains. And speaking of the wheels of the trains, they revealed the front carriage for it at IAPA Expo the other day, and the front wheels on this thing are huge. Probably some of the biggest wheels of any roller coaster I've ever seen. They are massive. And obviously those wheels, if they like get damaged or anything or need to be fixed, that's not going to be cheap either. They're going to be pretty expensive. So that obviously just begs the question: when Falcon's Flight does open, will it kill Intamin off? Will it send them into bankruptcy like X2 did with aerodynamics? To be honest, I don't think it will. Now, obviously, yes, this ride is going to be a lot of money to construct and maintain, not to mention with the rest of the whole park being built, but like I said before, X2 was over 20 years ago. Times have changed. Technology has advanced to make roller coasters cheaper and safer to construct. Obviously, like I said, LSM launches. This ride's going to have 3 LSM launches, and obviously those are meaning that it's going to be launched like with electromagnetic, like LSM launch fins, which means that it's going to be obviously cheaper and more reliable than if it had a hydraulic launch like on the old Intamin accelerator coasters. So obviously that's going to it's going to be very expensive. Obviously, like I said, it's the world's largest coaster, but it's not going to like affect Intamin in any bad way. Plus, like I said earlier, Saudi Arabia is a very expensive country, and obviously even though it's called Six Flags Qiddiya, this park that's actually being built is not actually owned by Six Flags. It's got a Six Flags name to it, but it's actually being owned by a company called Qiddiya, which is obviously Six Flags Qiddiya, which is basically just like this massive like organization that plans to increase tourism in Saudi Arabia with this huge entertainment complex near the capital city, Riyadh, and the Six Flags Qiddiya theme park is just part of this project. Obviously the whole park itself, it might not even all open immediately with its original like plans. So obviously they stated that they plan to have 28 attractions or 28 rides in total in Six Flags Qiddiya. I'm thinking that might not all happen immediately. I'm thinking that obviously it might open in phases. Falcon's Flight might not even open immediately. It might be part of the first phase of the park, but obviously it might open in like 3 or 4 phases. But obviously during those phases of like in the first stage, the first phase, they could easily make a profit from the first phase, and then obviously when they get round to the second phase, they'll just have a lot more that will have made a profit from when they built the first one. Obviously, like I said earlier, I think the whole Qiddiya project is funding the construction of this park. So money, honestly, they've got a lot of it. So, but obviously, like I said, it's going to be very expensive. But I think they've got a lot of money to use to actually build this thing. Plus, like I said before, Intamin and Aerodynamics are 2 completely different companies. At this current moment in time, Intamin themselves have stated that 2023 is one of their best years. And we can see why. They've installed some absolutely incredible roller coasters this year, like Tutatis at Park Asterix, Batman Gotham City Escape at Park Warner Madrid. They've done really well this year, and obviously because of that, they will have made a lot of money from parks that have asked them to build roller coasters for them. So Intamin are doing really well. I don't think they're struggling financially. Even though this ride is going to be a challenge for them, I think they'll persevere. I think it'll be worth it for them, hopefully. And obviously it depends, like I said, how long they can keep Six Flags Qiddiya can actually keep this thing operating. But like I said, the whole project is being funded by the Qiddiya company, so hopefully they should do fine. And I'm hoping, obviously, when this whole park is going to open, it might open within the next sort of 5 years. Maybe even within the next sort of like 3 or 4 years, I don't know, it's hard to tell. Like I said, the whole park has gone vertical, and even though Falcon's Flight is about half finished currently, they've still got the whole rest of the theme park to build, and they've still got a long way to go with the rest of it. I think at the moment, obviously, construction photos are very, very hard to find. Well, they're not hard to find, but like, there's only like a few of them online, and we don't even know who took some of the original construction photos. They just appear online. But from what we can tell, they've built about half of Falcon's flight, and they've started building the Vekoma tilt coaster, Iron Rattler. And I think that's mainly, and also the F1 track that's going to go around the park, so they're going to have an F1 track there as well. But they've still got a long way to go, so it'll be a while before we actually see this thing open and operating. But when it does, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to shatter all the records, and it's going to be amazing. So I want to thank you all very much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, then please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment what you would like to see in the next video. Bye.